"She's an embarrassment," they jeered. "Then she will bear my title," he said without mercy. The Patmore Chronicles. Dear readers, allow me to tell you of the most delightful scandal of this season. In our perfumed drawing rooms, where reputations are built with silk and destroyed with whispers, we witnessed the fall of a lady who no longer had much to lose, or so we thought. Lady Celina Hartley, that sharp-tongued spinster with empty pockets, dared to challenge the untouchable Lady Astride Ashton. Oh, the audacity, the disaster, and I confess, the secret satisfaction of those among us who had long wished to see someone confront the veiled tyranny of our dear Astride. But every act of daring has its price, and the price, my dears, was charged with cruel interest. Signed, Tom Patmore. The tea cooled in the porcelain cup as Lady Celina Hartley maintained an upright posture, hands folded, eyes discreetly lowered. Invisible. That was what she had become an expert in over the past 5 years. The art of disappearing in broad daylight, of occupying space without being noticed, of breathing without making a sound. In the perfumed sitting room of the Countess of Wellingham, 3 matrons of London high society conversed as though Celina were part of the furniture. And perhaps, she reflected with the bitter humour she reserved only for herself, that was exactly what she was now. A decorative object of practical function, like the silver sideboard or the French clock on the mantel. "More tea, Lady Worthing?" Celina's voice came out soft, dutifully submissive. The lady did not even glance in her direction, merely pushing the empty cup forward with an impatient gesture. Celina rose, moving with the silent grace she had developed, no abrupt sounds, no drawing attention. She poured the amber liquid with a steady hand, ignoring the familiar sting of humiliation that warmed her cheeks. 28 years old, daughter of a viscount, educated in French, literature, and music, and there she was, serving tea like a glorified maid. "I hear Lady Astride will host the ball of the season," the Countess remarked, adjusting her elaborately styled blonde curls. "Naturally everyone will attend. She has a gift for such events." "A gift for cruelty as well," murmured Lady Cooper, the youngest of the 3. "I saw how she treated that poor Miss Hastings last week. The girl was in tears." "Miss Hastings should learn not to wear such daring dresses," the Countess replied coolly. "Lady Astride merely said what everyone was thinking." Celina bit the inside of her cheek. What everyone was thinking. Always that convenient justification for malice. "And what of the Duke of York?" Lady Worthing leaned in, her voice low and conspiratorial. "They say he may attend. It would be his first public appearance since poor Helena died," the Countess finished, sighing dramatically. 3 years already. Such a young man, so wealthy, wasting himself away in isolation. It is unnatural. "There are those who say he killed her," whispered Lady Cooper. "Nonsense." The Countess waved a hand. "But there is certainly something odd about that story. A woman so young, dying so suddenly." Celina kept her expression neutral as she gathered the empty cups, but she memorized every word. The Duke of York. André Black York. She knew him only by reputation. The coldest man in Mayfair, as distant from society as the snow-capped peaks of Scotland. They said his eyes were ice, and his heart stone. "Celina," the Countess's voice cut through her thoughts, "you will accompany me to the Marquis of Cooper's ball tomorrow evening. Wear something discreet, very discreet." Celina's heart sank. Balls were refined torture. Hours spent watching younger, prettier, more fortunate women dance and laugh, while she remained in the shadows, like a living spectre of lost opportunities. "Yes, my lady," she replied, because there was no other possible answer. When the visitors finally departed, Celina climbed to the cramped little room that had been assigned to her. She looked at herself in the small, stained mirror. Ordinary brown hair, pinned into a simple bun. Grey eyes that had seen too much. A grey wool dress, mended at the sleeves. "Pleasant but unremarkable," she murmured, repeating the description she had once overheard. That was how society saw her. But beneath that ordinary surface, sharp thoughts cut like razors. And one day, perhaps not today, perhaps not tomorrow, that blade would be drawn. The Cooper mansion gleamed like a golden jewel against the London night. Carriages paraded through the circular drive, spilling aristocrats draped in silks and jewels worth more than Celina's annual income. She stepped down from the Countess's carriage like a shadow, dressed in dark blue muslin so discreet it nearly made her part of the wall. "Stay close," ordered the Countess, "and for heaven's sake, do not draw attention." Celina followed her through the main hall, dazzled despite herself. Crystal chandeliers turned night into artificial day. An orchestra played Strauss to perfection. Hundreds of candles scented the air with beeswax and roses. It was a world of dreams, for those who could afford to dream. She positioned herself strategically near a marble column, the perfect place to observe without being observed. Young debutantes spun across the dance floor like colorful butterflies. Elegant gentlemen courted with calculated smiles. Matrons judged with sharpened glances. And then he entered. A murmur rippled through the room like an invisible tide. Celina did not need to ask who had caused such a stir. The very atmosphere shifted, charged with electric tension. The Duke of York. André Blackyork was exactly as the description suggested, and completely unlike what Celina had imagined. Tall, broad shoulders filling his black tailcoat with natural authority. Dark hair slicked back revealed features carved in severe lines, a strong jaw, an aristocratic nose, a mouth too firm to smile easily. But it was his eyes that held Celina, blue as a frozen winter lake, cold and penetrating, surveying the room with barely concealed disdain. He moved through the crowd like a predator among sheep. People instinctively stepped aside, creating space. Some greeted him nervously. He responded with brief nods, clearly bored. Celina watched him with involuntary fascination. Here was someone who utterly despised the world that despised her. There was something liberating in that absolute indifference. "He came," whispered Lady Worthing, appearing beside the Countess. "After 3 years." "Seeking a new wife, certainly," the Countess replied. "A man cannot remain a widower forever." Celina looked away, uninterested in marital speculation. At that moment, she noticed a commotion near the refreshment table. Lady Sarah Merrick, only 17, stumbled while serving punch. The red liquid spilled spectacularly over the ivory-colored gown of Lady Astride Ashton. The room fell silent. Lady Astride rose slowly, her ruined dress dripping. Her face, still beautiful at 45, were it not for the expression of icy fury, twisted into a mask of refined hatred. "You clumsy creature!" Her voice cut the air like a whip. "Look what you've done. This dress came from Paris." I'm so sorry," Sarah stammered, face pale, eyes filling with tears. "It was an accident, I swear." "Accident?" Astride laughed, a cruel melodic sound. "Accidents happen to intelligent people. You are simply incompetent. Your mother should be ashamed to present you to society. A girl so stupid, so graceless. Frankly, it is an embarrassment to us all." Sarah began to cry openly. No one moved. No one spoke. All watched with that morbid curiosity that characterized high society. Something snapped inside Celina. Years of bottled rage, years of swallowed humiliations, years of injustices witnessed in silence. She heard herself speak before reason could intervene. Enough. Her voice was not loud, but it carried an authority that surprised even herself. She walked through the crowd, positioning herself between Astride and Sarah. "Lady Astride," Celina said calmly, "I believe Miss Merrick has already apologized. It was clearly an accident." Astride turned slowly, eyes narrowing. "And who exactly are you to address me?" Someone tired of watching cruelty disguised as refinement. Nervous titters rippled through the crowd. Astride's eyes flashed dangerously. "Ah, yes, the companion." "How dare you? How dare I?" Celina laughed, the sound humorless. "Your ladyship has publicly destroyed this girl over a trivial accident. The dress can be replaced. Her dignity, once shattered by your cruelty, cannot." The silence was now absolute. 200 pairs of eyes fixed on them. "You have no idea," Astride whispered, pure venom, "the mistake you have just made." "On the contrary," Celina replied softly, "I understand perfectly. But some things are worth more than self-preservation. Decency, for example." She turned to Sarah, offering her arm. "Come, dear, let us find your mother." As she led the trembling girl away, Celina allowed herself one last glance across the room. The Countess of Wellingham looked on the verge of fainting in horror. Lady Astride trembled with contained fury, and at the back of the hall, watching everything with unreadable intensity, the Duke of York studied her with those eyes of ice. For a moment, their gazes met. Then Celina looked away, her heart pounding wildly, aware that she had just changed the course of her life irrevocably. The retaliation began before dawn. Celina was awakened by the Countess of Wellingham herself, an unprecedented and deeply ominous event. "Gather your things, the Hugh," woman declared, her voice icy. "You are no longer needed here." "My lady!" "Silence!" The Countess trembled with indignation. "You embarrassed me. You humiliated yourself. And you had the audacity to challenge Lady Astride Ashton publicly. You are dismissed without references. Leave my house immediately." 2 hours later, Celina was back in the tiny rented room in Bloomsbury, her few belongings fitting into a single worn suitcase. The days that followed were a systematic nightmare. Rumors spread through London society like a plague. Celina Hartley was unstable, violent, had improper affairs. She was a witch, mad, dangerous. She visited 3 employment agencies. All refused to represent her. "I'm sorry, miss," said the last agent without sounding regretful. "But no respectable family will touch anyone who has offended Lady Astride." "She defended an innocent girl," Celina protested. "She did," the woman agreed. "And now she is ruined." The following week, Celina counted her remaining coins. Perhaps 15 days' rent. Then, nothing. A letter from the landlady arrived, demanding payment or eviction. Celina sat on the narrow bed, staring through the grimy window at the grey streets of Mayfair. No family, no friends, no options. She considered becoming a governess in some distant province. Factory work, things unthinkable for a viscount's daughter. On the night of the 10th day after the ball, a firm knock at the door startled her. The landlady appeared, her expression a mix of fear and excitement. Gentleman to see you, miss. A very important gentleman." Before Celina could process it, he was there. Andre Blackyork filled the modest doorway, making the room seem even smaller. He wore an impeccable tailcoat, his presence dominating the space like a force of nature. "Your Grace," Celina rose automatically, her mind racing. "I did not—" "Marry me, Lady Celina." The words fell into the silence like stones into a calm lake. Celina blinked, certain she had misheard. "I beg your pardon?" "It is not a request," he continued, his voice firm and indifferent as though discussing the weather. "It is a proposal. Marriage. Immediate." "Is this mockery?" Anger warmed her cheeks. "Does your grace find my situation so amusing that—" "I do not mock." Andre stepped fully into the room, closing the door. "I observed what you did at the ball. I saw courage where others saw madness. I saw strength where society sees disgrace. Your grace is mad." "Sober and calculating," he corrected. "I require a wife. I refuse to choose among insipid debutantes who faint at the slightest brush with reality. You demonstrated backbone. That is rare." Celina stared at him, searching for signs of drunkenness or insanity. She found only those relentless blue eyes, studying her with analytical intensity. "What does your grace gain from this?" "A competent administrator. Someone who will deter irritating suitors." And a ghost of a smile touched his lips. "A declaration of war against the hypocrisy of this rotten society. And what do I gain? Title, security, respect. Forced, but respect. Relative freedom within the marriage," he paused, "and vengeance against those who destroyed you. You do not offer love." "I do not believe in love." His voice hardened almost imperceptibly. "I offer a pragmatic partnership, nothing more." Celina crossed her arms, suspicious of every word. "And your first wife?" "I have heard rumors." "The past is irrelevant," he cut in sharply. "The question is, do you accept or not? Why should I trust your grace?" "You should not." Andre walked to the window, looking out at the street. "But consider the alternatives. Marriage to me or complete ruin. Choose." A heavy silence settled. Celina studied him, that imposing, mysterious, dangerous figure. Everything about him screamed danger, but everything within her screamed desperation. "How long do I have to decide?" she finally asked. Andre turned, something like satisfaction crossing his face. "Until tomorrow at noon. Otherwise I will leave you to the fate you chose when you defied a stride." He withdrew a card from his pocket and placed it on the small table. Then, without another word, he left. Celina picked up the card. Heavy paper, gold-embossed letters. His Grace, Andre Black York, Duke of York. She sat slowly on the bed, her mind churning. Marriage to a stranger. A man surrounded by dark mysteries. A man who might have killed his first wife. Or total ruin. Misery. Oblivion. For the first time in days, Celina allowed herself a bitter smile. What an impossible choice. But perhaps, just perhaps, the right choice was precisely the impossible one. Dawn broke grey over Mayfair, but Celina had been awake for hours, the Duke's card between her fingers, the weight of an impossible decision pressing against her chest. Marriage to a stranger, a man entangled in mysteries, a man whom society whispered was a murderer, or the streets, hunger, oblivion. At 11 o'clock, Celina took cheap paper and wrote in a firm hand, "I accept. C.H." She sent the reply with a messenger boy, spending one of her last coins. Then she waited, her heart pounding erratically. The response arrived in less than an hour. Cream-colored paper, ducal seal in dark blue wax. "A carriage will collect you at noon. Bring only what is necessary. The rest will be provided. A." Celina reread it 3 times, searching for emotion in the words. She found none, as cold and transactional as the man himself. Precisely at noon, a black carriage bearing the York crest stopped before the modest building. Neighbors peered through curtains. The landlady watched open-mouthed as a liveried footman helped Celina inside. "York House, miss," the man informed her, his voice professional, yet curious. The journey through Mayfair felt like crossing worlds, from poor Bloomsbury to aristocratic opulence. When the carriage stopped before an imposing four-story Georgian mansion, Celina had to suppress the urge to flee. Too late to turn back now. Andre was waiting for her in the entrance hall. A vast space of white marble, a double staircase, crystal chandeliers. He was dressed casually but in perfectly tailored clothes, watching her with that unsettling intensity. "Lady Celina," a brief nod of his head. "Welcome." "Your Grace." She returned the formality, refusing to be intimidated by the grandeur around her. A middle-aged woman, severe in an impeccable black dress, appeared at his side. Grey hair pulled into a tight bun, military posture, brown eyes examining Celina with barely concealed coldness. "Mrs. Pembroke, housekeeper," Andre introduced. "She manages the household." "Miss Hartley." The woman's voice was polished ice. She clearly disapproved of the entire situation. "Mrs. Pembroke will escort you to your rooms," Andre continued. "The dressmaker will come in the morning. We have 3 days." 3 days, Celina repeated. "To prepare." His eyes met hers. "The wedding will be private, with only the necessary witnesses. The special license has already been obtained. There is no reason to wait." There truly was not, Celina realized. He did not court her. He did not pretend at romance. It was a business transaction, efficient and cold. "I understand. We will dine at 8. Dress appropriately." He turned to leave, then paused. "And Lady Celina, no one beyond the servants will know about the marriage until I decide to reveal it. To society you are simply a temporary employee, assisting with domestic matters." Celina swallowed the humiliation, hidden like a dirty secret, but she nodded in agreement. "Mrs. Pembroke led her through elegant corridors to a suite on the 2nd floor. Rooms larger than the entire space she had occupied in Bloomsbury, a spacious bedroom with a canopy bed, a private sitting room, a generous wardrobe. "A maid will come to assist you," the housekeeper informed her curtly. "Dinner is served promptly at 8. The Duke does not tolerate lateness." Finally alone, Celina walked to the window, gazing at the meticulously kept gardens. In 3 days, she would be a duchess. In 3 days, this nightmare or salvation would become permanent. What have I done? The next 3 days passed in a controlled whirlwind. The dressmaker brought sumptuous fabrics, silks, velvets, French lace. She measured Celina with professional efficiency, asking no questions about the sudden marriage. "Sober tones," Mrs. Pembroke instructed. "Nothing extravagant. His Grace prefers discretion." Dresses arrived quickly. Navy blue, moss green, pearl grey. Elegant, but restrained. Perfect for a duchess who should be seen but not too noticed. Celina explored the mansion cautiously. A vast library with thousands of volumes. Formal drawing rooms decorated with masculine taste. Dark colors, heavy furniture, serious art. Everything impeccable, everything cold. The servants treated her with barely concealed confusion. She was not a guest, not a servant. She occupied an undefined space that made them uncomfortable. Only one young maid, Mary, showed friendliness. "Is it true, miss," she whispered, while helping Celina dress for dinner, "that His Grace is going to marry?" "Where did you get that idea?" Celina deflected. "Servants talk, miss." Mary lowered her voice further. "And we all noticed how he looks at you." "How does he look?" Like he's solving a complicated puzzle." A disturbingly accurate description. Dinners with Andre were formal and silent affairs. He sat at the head of the long table, she to his right. Elaborate dishes served by discreet footmen. Minimal conversation. But on the third night, something changed. "Why did you accept?" Andre asked abruptly, his voice cutting through the silence. Celina paused, fork in midair. "Your Grace knows why. I had no choice. Everyone has choices." He sipped his wine, studying her. "You could have sought work in the provinces, as a governess, a teacher, and live as a ghost for the rest of my life." Celina met his gaze. "At least here, I will be a ghost in a gilded cage." Something like amusement crossed his face. Gilded cage, an apt description. "And you, Your Grace, why did you truly choose me?" Andre leaned back in his chair. "I have already explained." "You explained practical reasons, but there is more." Celina leaned forward slightly. "No one marries for mere administrative convenience." A long silence. Then, "You confronted a stride, knowing you would be destroyed. You did it anyway. That demonstrates character, or stupidity. Courage and stupidity often look identical in the moment." He paused. "Helena would never have done that. She bent under pressure." The first voluntary mention of his deceased wife. Celina pressed carefully. What was she like? Andre's face closed instantly. "Dead. That is all that matters." "Your Grace, I will be married in 2 days. Do I not deserve to know?" "No." The word came out sharp as a blade. "The past remains buried. Focus on the future." Celina retreated, but frustration simmered. She would marry a man surrounded by secrets, unresolved ghosts haunting every corner of this mansion. On the night before the wedding, Celina could not sleep. She wandered through the silent corridors, exploring areas she had not yet seen. On the 3rd floor, she found a closed hallway. Double doors locked, dust gathered on the carpet. A discreet plaque. Private apartments. "Never enter there." Celina turned. Mrs. Pembroke had appeared silently, her expression severe. "Orders from the Duke," the housekeeper continued. "Those rooms remain closed." "They were hers?" Celina asked softly. "The first Duchess's?" Mrs. Pembroke hesitated, then nodded stiffly. "Lady Helena, His Grace ordered everything to remain untouched for 3 years. His Grace has his reasons." But something in the woman's voice suggested she questioned them as well. How did she truly die? The housekeeper looked at her for a long moment. "Officially, she fell from her horse on the country estate, but—" She paused, clearly debating. There were rumors. Suicide. Others said worse things. Murder. "I did not say that." Mrs. Pembroke straightened. "But Lady Helena was troubled, unstable. The marriage was unhappy from the beginning. When she died, His Grace closed himself off completely. He became the man you know now. Did he love her? I do not know if His Grace is capable of love." The answer was honest and sad. "But he carries guilt. That I know." The housekeeper turned to leave, then looked back. "Miss Hartley, you seem stronger than she was. Perhaps that is what he needs. But be careful. This house keeps shadows." Alone again, Celina stared at the locked door. What secrets lay beyond? What truths was Andre hiding so desperately? Tomorrow she would become his wife. But what kind of man exactly? The ceremony was exactly as Andre had promised. Brief, cold, transactional. A private chapel attached to the mansion. A priest clearly uncomfortable with the rushed wedding. Mrs. Pembroke and the butler as the only witnesses. No guests, no celebration. Celina wore a dark blue silk dress, elegant but too somber for a bride. Andre wore a formal black tailcoat, his expression unreadable. "Do you accept this man?" the priest asked, his voice hesitant. Celina looked at Andre. Those blue eyes studied her intensely, searching for hesitation, regret. She lifted her chin. I accept. Do you accept this woman? I accept. No emotion. A statement of fact. When it came time to kiss the bride, Andre leaned in formally. His lips touched hers. Brief contact, cold, appropriate for a loveless ceremony. But an electric current shot through Celina, catching her completely off guard. Her eyes widened. Andre paused, something indefinable crossing his face. Then he pulled back quickly. It is done, he declared. And so, without fanfare or joy, Celina Hartley became the Duchess of York. The following weeks established a strange routine. During the day, Celina managed domestic affairs, supervising servants, reviewing accounts, organizing properties. She discovered herself to be competent and efficient. The servants gradually began to respect her, recognizing her natural authority. Andre spent his days locked in his study, dealing with mysterious business. Correspondence in code arrived regularly. Occasional visitors, serious men in discreet clothing, were received in private meetings. At night, they dined together in formal silence. Conversation was minimal, polite, empty. They slept in separate rooms. Andre never suggested consummating the marriage. Celina did not know whether to feel relieved or insulted. Publicly, they remained invisible. They did not go out together. They did not receive social visits. To Mayfair, the Duke of York remained isolated, and Celina Hartley simply disappeared, until Spencer's confectionery began to buzz with gossip. I hear the Duke is looking for a wife, Lady Worthing remarked, savouring an almond cake. He has finally decided to come out of mourning. About time, another lady replied. But who would be foolish enough to marry a man like that? They say he hired someone to manage the house, preparing for a new duchess. Poor wretch, whoever she is. James Spencer, the confectioner, prepared sweets in silence, listening to it all. He smiled discreetly. The best stories always began with half-truths. But inside York House, something was changing. One night, 3 weeks after the wedding, Celina awoke to a distressed sound. She hesitated, then rose, following the noise. It came from Andre's rooms. She knocked softly. Silence. Then a muffled groan. She opened the door cautiously. The room was dark except for the faint firelight. Andre sat in an armchair near the hearth, dressed only in trousers and an unbuttoned shirt, a bottle of brandy on the table beside him. He stared into the flames. Your Grace? Celina approached hesitantly. He turned sharply. His expression was that of a haunted man. Wild eyes, tense jaw, rare vulnerability exposed. Nightmares, he said simply. Go away. But Celina did not. She sat in the opposite armchair. About her? Andre laughed bitterly. Always about her. 3 years and still... Tell me. It was not a request. It was a gentle command. A long silence. Then, like a dam breaking, the words began to spill. I married Helena out of duty. She was a count's daughter. A useful political connection. But I discovered too late that she was fragile, mentally unstable, and unhappy, deeply unhappy. He drank the brandy straight from the bottle. She had affairs. I did not care. I did not love her. But one of her lovers was dangerous, and she was selling secrets. Celina froze. Secrets? I work for the Crown. Not officially. Andre looked at her, assessing. I fight corruption. I expose traitors. I use my fortune and position to finance operations the government cannot conduct openly. Your Grace is a spy. Patriot, he corrected dryly. Helena discovered it. She threatened to expose everything unless I gave her total freedom. Her lover was French, an intelligence officer. Horror grew within Celina. She betrayed the country. She betrayed everything. Andre's voice hardened. When I confronted her, she laughed, said she finally had power over me. That night, she rode to the country estate. Alone, recklessly. He paused for a long time. When they found her, she was dead, neck broken. Apparently she fell from her horse, but I always suspected her lover silenced her. She knew too much. She had become a liability, and society blamed your grace. They had no proof, but whispers were enough. He looked at Celina. That is why I chose you. They already see me as a monster. Marrying a woman society despises only confirms that I do not care about their opinions. So I am a shield, Celina said softly. Protection against judgment. No. Andre stood, moving closer. You are a choice. Helena was imposed. I chose. They were standing too close. Celina could feel his warmth, the scent of brandy, and something unmistakably masculine. Her heart raced. Why? She whispered. Because I saw strength that night, real strength. Not social performance, but genuine courage. His hand touched her face hesitantly. And because I am tired of living with ghosts. They leaned in simultaneously. Their lips met, not formal as at the ceremony, but with restrained urgency. Weeks of tension exploded in a kiss that melted the ice between them. Andre deepened the kiss, his hands at her waist, pulling her against him. Celina responded with equal passion, her fingers in his hair. Then he pulled back abruptly, breathing unevenly. I cannot. Why? Because you deserve love, romance, things I cannot offer. He stepped away, running a hand through his hair. This was a mistake. Andre. The first time she used his name. Go, Celina, please. She hesitated, then left, her heart broken and confused. The following morning brought an unexpected visitor. Mr. Malisburg, solicitor to the York family, arrived with a briefcase of documents. A thin man of 60, small spectacles, an expression perpetually worried. Your Grace, he greeted Andre formally. Then he turned to Celina. And Miss Duchess, Andre corrected coldly. My wife. Malisburg's eyes widened. Forgive me. I did not know. When? Recently. And it remains private for now. His tone allowed no discussion. The solicitor recovered professionally, naturally. I have documents for Your Grace. He hesitated over the title. The smaller properties require management. Your authority is needed. He explained tedious details about lands, rents, responsibilities. Celina listened attentively, asking intelligent questions. Malisburg seemed impressed. Very different from the previous Duchess, he remarked without thinking. Silence fell heavily. Andre froze. Celina seized the moment. How so, Mr. Malisburg? The solicitor realized his mistake, adjusted his glasses nervously. Merely, Lady Helena had no interest in administrative matters. Too fragile for such responsibilities. Fragile, Celina repeated. An interesting word. Malisburg glanced quickly at Andre, seeking permission. He found nothing but a closed expression. Lady Helena was delicate, emotionally unstable. The marriage was difficult. He lowered his voice. Your Grace is clearly much more strong. After the lawyer's departure, Celina confronted Andre. I need to know the whole truth. I can't live surrounded by half-truths. I already told you. You told part of it. She crossed her arms. What really happened that night? And don't tell me you don't know. Andre walked to the window, tension in every line of his body. Finally, Helena sent a letter to her lover that day. I intercepted it. She planned to flee with him to France, taking stolen documents. I confronted her, and she became hysterical, threatened to destroy me publicly, said she would claim I beat her, imprisoned her, horrible things. She screamed that she would rather die than remain married to me. He turned to Celina, agony in his eyes. Then she rode off in fury. I should have physically stopped her, but I was so furious. I let her go, and she died. It wasn't your fault, wasn't it? His voice was bitter. I could have stopped her. I could have been gentler. Maybe if I had loved her. She betrayed the country, Andre. She sold secrets that put lives at risk. Celina stepped closer. You are not responsible for her destructive choices. Society thinks differently, and perhaps it's right. Society is wrong about many things. She touched his arm, including you. For a moment, something broke in his armor. He almost pulled her into an embrace, but the bell rang, interrupting them. The butler entered. Your Grace, an urgent letter. Andre opened the sealed envelope, read quickly. His face went ashen. What is it? Celina asked. He showed her the letter. Plain paper, anonymous handwriting. The first Duchess discovered your secrets and died. You will be next. Be careful whom you trust. Andre destroyed the letter at once, throwing it into the fireplace. An empty threat. It didn't seem empty, Celina countered. Someone knows about our marriage. Someone wants to frighten me. Or provoke me. His jaw tightened. You will not go out alone. I'm arranging additional security. Are you imprisoning me? I'm protecting you. Final tone. But Celina was not Helena. She would not be confined by fear. Days later, while Andre was in an important meeting, a different envelope arrived. Not threatening, an elegant invitation. Lady Astride Ashton requests the presence of Miss Celina Hartley for tea. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Celina studied the invitation. Astride knew she was at the York mansion, knew she worked for the Duke, and now invited her to a confrontation. She should refuse. It would be prudent. But Celina had never been prudent. Ashton Manor was exaggerated opulence, too much gold, expensive French furniture, everything screaming wealth without genuine taste. Lady Astride received her in a shocking pink drawing room. At 45, still beautiful with the help of cosmetics and perfect clothes. But her eyes were reptilian, cold, calculating, cruel. Miss Hartley. A smile that did not reach her eyes. What a delightful surprise. Lady Astride? Celina sat, refusing to show nervousness. Tea? She offered with false kindness. Thank you. She poured it herself. An intimate gesture Celina did not trust. I hear you're working for the Duke of York. Astride sipped delicately. An interesting position. I manage domestic affairs. How domestic? A venomous giggle. And tell me, is the Duke truly seeking a wife? Gossip says he is. Celina kept her expression neutral. I do not discuss His Grace's private matters. Of course not. Loyalty is admirable, she paused. But I'm certain that working so closely, you've discovered certain truths about him, such as about his business. With my late husband, for example. She dropped it casually. They were partners in ventures the Crown would not approve of. Celina forced herself to remain calm. I don't know what you're talking about. Smuggling, my dear. Political bribery. Things that would destroy a ducal reputation if they came to light. She smiled sweetly. My husband kept records, and I inherited them. A lie. It had to be. Andre worked for the Crown, not against it. But what if there was truth mixed in? What if his past was more complicated? Why are you telling me this? Celina asked carefully. Because you deserve to know whom you truly serve. Astride leaned in. And because when the scandal erupts, and it will, I don't want you dragged down in the ruin. You offended me, yes, but I offer amnesty. If you step away now, an obvious trap, but to what precise end? Generous, Celina said dryly, but I refuse. Something dangerous flashed in Astride's eyes. Then you will share his fate. A pity. When Celina returned to the York mansion, she found Andre waiting. Furious. You disobeyed a direct order. I am not a servant to obey orders. You are my wife. Then treat me like one, Celina exploded. Not like a fragile doll to be protected. I am not Helena. Shocked silence. Andre breathed deeply, controlling his fury. What did Astride want? Celina told him everything. He listened, his expression growing progressively darker. She works with Harcourt, he said finally. Helena's lover. They've tried to destroy me for years. Why? Power. Revenge. Andre paced. Harcourt blames me for Helena's death. And Astride? She wants to control society completely. I represent a threat. Is there truth in what she said about illegal dealings? No. Firm. But can I prove it? I work in the shadows. Documents are classified. If Harcourt and Astride fabricate convincing evidence, he paused. It could ruin everything and put you in real danger. He stepped closer, taking her hands. I can annul the marriage. Protect you from this. No. Celina. I said no. She squeezed his hands. I married you knowing you kept secrets. I'm not fragile like she was. I won't break. Something broke in his eyes. He pulled her into a desperate embrace. I thought I could keep this separate. Protect you from everything. His voice was muffled in her hair. But I'm dragging you into danger. Then we'll face it together. Celina pulled back slightly, forcing him to look at her. Together, Andre. Like a real couple. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he kissed her. Not with hesitation this time, but with total urgency. Weeks of suppressed passion exploded. Celina responded with equal fervor, fingers tangled in his hair. When they finally parted, both were breathing hard. This complicates everything, Andre murmured. It was already complicated. Celina smiled faintly. At least now we complicate it together. He almost smiled. Almost. Then the bell rang again. The butler entered, visibly nervous. Your Grace, men from the Crown are here. They request an urgent audience. Celina's blood ran cold. Andre maintained perfect composure. Show them to the study. When they were momentarily alone, he turned to her. Stay here, no matter what you hear. Andre, trust me, please. And then he left, leaving Celina with her heart pounding wildly and fear growing. What web of conspiracy truly surrounded them? And how would they emerge alive? The Patmore Chronicles. My dear readers, the Duke of York seeks a wife, the matrons say between lemon cakes. But who would be foolish or brave enough? Meanwhile, a certain lady vanished from society works mysteriously at his mansion. Coincidence? I never believe in coincidences. And now darker whispers, visitors from the Crown, ancient conspiracies, Lady Astride plotting revenge. Oh, how I adore it when stories become complicated. Signed, Tom Patmore. The men from the Crown remained in Andre's study for 2 hours. Celina waited in the library, unable to concentrate on any book, listening to the muffled murmur of tense voices through the thick walls. When they finally left, their expressions were inscrutable. Andre escorted them to the door, formal courtesies. nothing in his posture revealing concern. But when he returned to the library, Celina saw the truth in his eyes. "What do they want?" Andre poured brandy with a steady hand, but the tense line of his jaw betrayed strain. "Documents have surfaced. Forged correspondence suggesting I sold information to French agents. The signature is forged but convincing. Harcourt and astride." He drained the brandy in one swallow. "But now I have something they didn't before." "You," Celina frowned. "I don't understand. They plan to expose me publicly, destroy my reputation, ruin my work for the crown." His eyes met hers with intensity. "But if the marriage is revealed first on our terms, with you at my side, it completely changes the narrative." "How?" "Because a secret marriage to a woman society knows, whom they witnessed being humiliated by astride, demonstrates that I have nothing to hide. More, it turns you into a living witness to her character." He stepped closer. "And because I love you, and I refuse to keep you hidden like a dirty secret for another day." Celina's heart raced. "What are you proposing?" "Tomorrow night, Lady Astride's ball." A predatory smile crossed his face. "She expects to humiliate me publicly. Instead, I will present my Duchess, and while society processes the shock, the authorities I've contacted will have time to gather final evidence against Harcourt and Astride. It's risky. Everything worthwhile is." He took her hands. "But I won't do it without your consent. You'll be exposed to cruel judgments, venomous speculation. I've already been exposed to worse." Celina squeezed his hands. "And this time, I won't be alone. You will never be alone again." He pulled her into a deep kiss, a promise sealed by touch. When they parted, Celina asked, "And if something goes wrong?" "Then we face it together." Simple. Absolute. Spencer's confectionery was working frantically the following afternoon, preparing sweets for Lady Astride's grand ball. "It will be the event of the season," the assistant commented, decorating eclairs. Lady Astride promised surprising revelations. "Interesting," Spencer murmured, a mysterious smile touching his lips. He decorated a 3-tier cake with sugar roses. "Surprises can cut both ways." His eyes shone with anticipation. Tonight would change everything. He could feel it in his fingertips as he worked sugar into art. Ashton Manor gleamed like a palace of glass and gold. Hundreds of candles reflecting in gilded mirrors, exotic flowers perfuming the air, a full orchestra playing Mozart. London's elite present in full force, all eager for the promised spectacle. Lady Astride reigned like an ice queen, a dramatic blood-red gown daringly cut, diamonds glittering at throat and ears. She smiled at guests, but her eyes constantly searched the entrance, waiting for prey. Lord Nathaniel Harcourt circulated elegantly, charming and lethal. At 38, impeccably blonde hair, green eyes cold as jade. He chatted casually with lords and ladies, but his attention was focused. The plan was perfect. When the Duke of York arrived, a public confrontation. Documents revealing his betrayal. Total ruin. At 9 o'clock, a murmur rippled through the ballroom. The Duke of York had arrived. Andre entered with a presence that dominated the space. Impeccable black tailcoat, broad shoulders, a predator's posture. But something was different. He did not come alone. On his arm, a woman in a sapphire blue silk gown. Society froze collectively, processing the impossible. Celina Hartley, but transformed. Chestnut hair loose in elegant waves, a perfectly cut gown accentuating her figure, posture upright and confident, and at her neck a necklace of sapphires and diamonds, unmistakably ducal jewels. Is it her? Lady Worthing stammered. The companion? Impossible, another whispered. What is she doing here with him? Andre and Celina walked through the silent crowd. He did not smile, but dark satisfaction gleamed in his blue eyes. She maintained a serene expression, ignoring the shocked stares. Lady Astride paled, then flushed with fury. This was not in the plan. They approached her directly. Andre made a minimal bow, more insult than courtesy. Lady Astride, thank you for the invitation. Your Grace. Her voice was tight. I did not know you would bring a guest. I did not bring a guest. A deliberate pause. Then, his voice cutting the silence like a blade. I brought my wife. An explosion of murmurs. Ladies gasped softly. Men exclaimed. Society erupted into controlled chaos. Wife? Astride completely lost her composure. Celina Black-York, Duchess of York. Andre presented her formally, his voice loud enough for all to hear. We married 2 months ago. A private ceremony, as we prefer. Celina made a graceful curtsy. Lady Astride. What a charming ball. The room exploded. When? How? He married that woman. Astride trembled visibly. This is an outrage. She is nothing, nobody. She, Andre said dangerously low, is the Duchess of York. My choice, my equal. Choice? Astride laughed hysterically. Your Grace has completely lost his mind. To marry society's shame? Then she will bear my title, Andre interrupted, merciless. He turned to the crowd. And let it be clear, anyone who questions my Duchess questions me. Choose wisely. Absolute silence. But Celina did not remain silent. She stepped forward, meeting Astride's eyes directly. I was a shame, she said clearly, to a society that values appearances over substance. But I learned that the opinions of the cruel are worth less than nothing. She looked around the ballroom. I was a companion. I survived daily humiliations. And when I defended an innocent young woman from disproportionate cruelty, she looked pointedly at Astride, I paid the price, but I do not regret it. She turned to Andre. Because this man saw strength where others saw weakness, saw value where others saw shame, and together we chose to reject the empty expectations of a hypocritical society. Unexpected applause echoed. Lady Sarah Merrick, now 18, clapped openly, tears in her eyes. Other young women joined in. Then some men. Not a majority, but enough. Astride was livid. But worse was yet to come. Lord Harcourt approached, his smile charming but eyes calculating. Your Grace, what a surprising revelation. Congratulations on the matrimony. Barely concealed venom. Lord Harcourt. Andre watched him like a predator watches prey. Though I must question the timing. Harcourt raised his voice slightly, drawing attention. A secret marriage precisely when certain irregularities regarding your Grace's activities have surfaced. Renewed murmurs. Astride regained her composure, smiling venomously. Yes, serious irregularities, she echoed. Documents suggesting treason. Forged documents, Andre cut in coldly. By you and your accomplice here. Harcourt laughed. Serious accusations without proof. On the contrary, Andre signaled discreetly. The ballroom doors opened. 4 men in discreet but unmistakable crown uniforms entered. Captain Martin Ashford, the senior officer who had been at the mansion days earlier, led them. Lord Harcourt, Lady Astride, he said formally, you are under investigation for treason against the crown. True horror crossed Harcourt's face. Astride turned white as marble. This is absurd, she screamed. It is the truth, a new voice interrupted. An older man entered, Mr. Edmund Ashton, around 60, brother of Astride's late husband. His expression was one of sorrow and determination. "Uncle Edmund?" Astride whispered. "What?" I could no longer remain silent. His voice trembled, but held firm. "My brother, your late husband, Lord Richard Ashton, did not die of natural causes, as was reported." The ballroom fell completely silent. "Richard discovered that you, Astride, were selling confidential information to French agents. Information he had inadvertently mentioned at home, trusting his wife. Bitterness filled his voice. When he confronted you, he died mysteriously 3 days later. A sudden heart attack, the doctors said, but Richard was healthy, strong." "Lies!" Astride screamed. "Truths I can finally prove." Edmund handed an envelope to Captain Ashford. Letters Richard hid, documenting his suspicions. "And testimony from a loyal servant who witnessed a meeting between Astride and a French agent, Lord Harcourt. Harcourt tried to run, but Crown officers blocked the exits. He was seized quickly, struggling. "She forced me!" he cried desperately. "Astride planned everything. She killed her husband. She used Helena to obtain information from Andre. I only—" "Shut up!" Astride hissed. But Harcourt, realizing his downfall was inevitable, continued frantically. "Helena didn't know. She thought it was a romance. Astride manipulated everything. When Helena discovered the truth, she threatened to expose it. I had to silence her." A full confession. Helena's murder confirmed. Society watched, stunned. The scandal of the century unfolding before them. Captain Ashford turned to Astride. "Lady Astride Ashton, you are under arrest for treason, conspiracy, and complicity in multiple murders." "No!" She backed away, her social mask finally shattering completely. "You don't understand. I deserved power. I deserved respect. Richard treated me like decoration. Society used me, but never truly valued me." She looked around wildly. "I sold secrets because I finally had something of value. I controlled information. I had real power, not just empty social influence." "And you killed innocents in the process," Andre said coldly. "English soldiers died because the information you sold reached our enemies." Astride turned to him, pure hatred in her eyes. "And you, always above everyone, perfect duke with superior morals. Helena hated you. She told me you were a cold monster." "Helena was a traitor manipulated by you," Andre replied, "and I carry the guilt of not realizing it in time, but no longer." He looked at Celina, who was holding his hand firmly. "Now I have a reason to live beyond guilt." Officers dragged Astride away by force, still screaming incoherent accusations. Harcourt was hauled off in silence, completely defeated. When the doors closed behind them, the ballroom remained in stunned silence. Captain Ashford turned to the assembled society. "I regret interrupting the event, but justice does not wait for convenience. The Duke of York has worked under direct orders of the Crown for years, protecting this country at immense personal risk. Formal honors will be announced in due course." He bowed to Andre and left with his team. Slowly, society began to process. The Duke of York, hero, not traitor. Lady Astride, traitor, murderer, liar. And Celina, legitimate duchess, witness to everything. Music resumed hesitantly. Conversations erupted, growing louder, everyone processing the impossible revelations. Andre offered his arm to Celina. "Shall we dance?" "Always." They moved onto the dance floor. Society automatically made space. Other couples gradually joined, but a respectful distance was maintained. "Are you all right?" Andre asked softly as they turned. "Surprisingly, yes." Celina smiled genuinely. I feel free, at last. Free? From hiding, from shame, from fear. She looked into his eyes. I am your wife publicly now. We faced the worst together. What society thinks seems insignificant. It is insignificant. He pulled her slightly closer. Only you matter. They danced the rest of the music in comfortable silence. When it ended, a young debutante approached timidly. Lady Sarah Merrick. Your Grace, she curtsied to Celina. Thank you for everything, for defending me that night, for showing that strength matters more than approval. Celina took the girl's hands. You would have found your own strength eventually. I only hastened the process. Sarah smiled through tears. Still, thank you, and congratulations on your marriage. Others approached gradually. Not all. Many matrons remained distant, faces tight with disapproval. But the young women especially showed a new respect. Mr. Edmund Ashton approached, his expression weary but relieved. Your Grace, forgive me for not speaking sooner. Fear silenced me for too long. You spoke when it mattered, Andre said firmly. That's what counts. My brother would be grateful. Edmund paused. And I am sorry for Lady Helena. She was as much a victim as a conspirator. She was. Andre accepted it with a grace he would not have had months earlier. But the past must rest now. Hours later, in the quiet of the carriage returning to York Manor, Celina leaned against Andre, exhausted but triumphant. Was it real? She murmured. Is it truly over? It's over. He kissed the top of her head. Astride and Harcourt will face justice. My work for the crown is secure. And you? He pulled her back slightly to look into her eyes. You are finally recognized as you should always have been. As society's shame who became a duchess. As the extraordinary woman who was always a duchess, only waiting for the title to catch up. They kissed deeply. Passion and relief intertwined. 6 months later, the gardens of York Manor bloomed luxuriantly under the summer sun. Roses, lavender, jasmine formed a perfumed tapestry. Celina walked slowly along the paths, her hand resting on a visibly rounded belly. 6 months pregnant, radiant in a light muslin dress. She had fully established herself as Duchess, managed the estates with admirable efficiency, opened a school for young women without means, and become a respected voice in philanthropic circles. Society still whispered occasionally. But the whispers were of reluctant respect now, not disdain. Andre emerged from the manor carrying correspondence, but upon seeing her, he tossed the papers aside and approached. The doctor said you should rest more. The doctor is superstitious, Celina smiled. I am perfectly well. Andre touched her belly reverently. Our child. Or daughter. Or daughter, he agreed, smiling. Who will inherit her mother's intelligence and, I hope, her temperament as well. And her father's eyes. And stubbornness. They laughed softly. They sat on the garden bench beneath the willow. Andre wrapped an arm around Celina, both gazing over the estate that had become a true home. Who would have imagined, Celina murmured. A despised companion marries the Ice Duke, faces traitors, becomes a respected duchess, awaits a child. An impossible story, Andre agreed. But a true one. You still call me the Ice Duke? Occasionally, when you're being particularly stubborn. She turned, kissing him softly. But usually, I call you mine. As you are mine. He cupped her face, completely, eternally. Even if society never fully accepts us? Society can sink into the Thames. His tone was firm. We built a life based on truth, respect, love. That is worth more than 1,000 empty approvals. Celina leaned against him, deep peace filling her chest. "Do you love me?" she asked softly. "More than life, no hesitation. You taught me to live again, to feel beyond duty and guilt, to believe in a future, not merely survive the present. And you taught me that strength does not mean facing the world alone, that accepting help is not weakness, that true love is partnership, not imprisonment." They remained that way as the sun slowly descended, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. "You know what else I learned," Celina said eventually. "What?" "That being society's shame was the greatest blessing, because it forced me to find inner strength, to value substance over appearance, to choose dignity over acceptance." Andre kissed her temple. "And choosing you was my salvation, even when everyone called it madness. Especially then." He smiled, a genuine expression that completely transformed his severe face. "Because choices everyone approves of are rarely interesting. And you, my impossible Duchess, are infinitely interesting." They laughed together, the sound echoing through the gardens. In the distance, Mrs. Pembroke watched from a window, a rare smile softening her normally austere features. After years serving a house haunted by ghosts, it was finally alive again. And at Spencer's confectionery in Mayfair, James Spencer prepared a special cake, commissioned by the Duke of York to celebrate the pregnancy announcement. He shaped sugar into delicate roses, smiling. The Patmore Chronicles. Dear readers, we have reached the end of this extraordinary story I had the privilege to witness. Lady Celina Hartley, Her Grace the Duchess of York, proved that shame in the eyes of fools is honor in the eyes of the wise. Somewhere in Mayfair, I saw a despised companion confront tyranny. I saw the Ice Duke choose courage over convenience. I saw conspirators unmasked at the very ball they planned as their own triumph. Oh, the delicious irony. Lady Astride Ashton, traitor, murderer, now awaiting trial in the Tower. Lord Harcourt, confessed murderer of Helena, facing the gallows. And our protagonists? They live at York Manor, awaiting their first child, building a life based on true love, not empty approval. Society still whispers, naturally. Some matrons refuse to accept a duchess of inadequate origins, but increasingly respectful voices outnumber criticism, because Celina proved that substance triumphs over superficiality. Lessons learned? Many. Cruelty eventually exacts a price. Courage is rewarded. Genuine love is worth more than 1,000 false approvals. And sometimes, choosing to be the shame of a corrupt society is the most honorable act possible. As for me, I continue listening to gossip, recording human dramas. But this story will remain an eternal favorite. The story of a duchess who was first shame, then victorious. Of a duke who learned that the greatest strength is allowing oneself to love, and of a love that rewrote all the rules. Spencer's confectionery serves a celebration today, a 3-tier cake decorated with sugar roses, celebrating new life on the way. The Duchess ordered it personally, smiling with a happiness no society can grant or take away, because it comes from within. And so, my dear readers, I lay down my pen for the last time in this saga. But the story continues. In every courageous choice, every refusal to bow to empty expectations, every love that defies convention. And together they proved that the shame of fools is the glory of the wise. Your humble chronicler, signed Tom Patmore, P.S. I hear that Lady Sarah Merrick, the young woman Celina defended on that fateful night, recently became engaged to a respectable young viscount. She credits the Duchess's courage with teaching her to value character over status. Cycles of kindness, my dear readers, they continue eternally.